All right, happy birthday to our old friend Tom Brady. I don't know if you've heard, Karana, but Tom Brady's 44 today. I think he's about the 10th oldest guy in the league. There's, I don't know, 9 or 10 other guys who are in their late 40s and 50s, I believe. I could be wrong. I don't know if the Tampa Bay media, assembled media, will sing happy birthday. They do that sometimes. As far as I know, our guys in Tampa have yet to ask Brady flat out, "Are you vaccinated?" I don't know why. It's become a little obsession with me. I admit, but I was told by a guy down there that he first chance he'd get Brady. They were going to ask. They were going to confirm that he didn't get vaccinated. That
That was a
was
week ago.
that was more than a week ago. That was 9 days ago, and he said
9 days.
9 days. And there, since then, we've learned that a number of players are unvaccinated, including Kirk Cousins, QB from Minnesota, who is now in quarantine for, I believe it's 5 or 6 days, which is how we know he's unvaccinated, because the vaccinated guys have to spend, I think it's 2 days, or maybe not, maybe, yeah, 2 days in quarantine. The unvaccinated have to spend 5 or 6. And his coach, Mike Zimmer, he didn't really go off on the unvaccinated players, but he was just saying, I don't know what they're thinking. It's a source of frustration. It's a source of division. When you think about it in the locker room, the Minnesota Vikings don't have any quarterbacks because
All
one of
right.
the quarterbacks, this Kelly Mond, I believe, tested positive. He was vaccinated, I believe, so he can come back quick. But they had to, all 3 or 4 other quarterbacks had to go into quarantine, which upset the coach and I'm sure some other players. We've heard from players. Hell, Charles Barkley just flat out says anyone who doesn't get vaccinated is an asshole. Now we know Barkley's outspoken and he doesn't always. It's not always the most informed opinion. He's funny, he's fun, but there's got to be players in every sport, but right now, particularly football, who are looking at their unvaccinated teammates and saying, "You're a problem." That's going to create an issue in locker rooms around the league, especially if the unvaccinated guy is really important to the team and gets exposed to to COVID and has to go into quarantine. And if you're Tampa Bay, and we still don't know, again, I still don't know if Brady's been vaccinated, you have to be thinking, he gets exposed to COVID like week one. Uh, and has to miss a game because he
Oh,
refused to get the shot. That's going to upset a lot of people.
it
And
is.
I mean, that won't affect him. He'll still stand by his guns and stick to his guns and say, I don't need that. I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need these untested, medicines in my body. But they have armbands in Tampa for unvaccinated players, or wristbands. I should say armbands, wristbands, but they only wear them indoors. So the media has not had a chance, I don't think, to see whether Brady is wearing the wristband. I'm going to guess. Here's my guess. He's not. You know why? Because he's Tom Brady. He's probably like, I'm not putting on a stupid wristband. Make me. He's not only the best player ever, he's the most powerful at this point. We know Bruce Arians lets him, co-coach the offense. I'm going to guess Brady says, stick your wristband. I'm going to do what I want to do. So they do not know yet whether he's vaccinated. We do know that every team's got, I think they're guessing what, 90% of the league is vaccinated, which is
Well, I
a
don't.
high number.
Well, it might be. I mean, so I just saw the numbers today. 58% of Americans are vaccinated. Now, I know the incentives are different. If you're in the NHL, you're stroking a paycheck, so it's probably a good deal higher. But 90 seems, I would guess, 75,
No, it's
80%.
higher. I
You
believe
think it's higher?
most teams have reached the 85% threshold, but still,
Okay.
if you have 50, right now, you say you have 60 guys and 90% are vaccinated, that means 6 are not. And if they're really good, if they're Tom Brady, if they're DeAndre Hopkins, you have an issue. But I will give Brady credit for this. He's turning 44 today. It's a big, big day. I mean, he's by far, I think, I just
He's the
read
oldest. He is.
oldest. He's the only player in his 40s in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
He's Super Bowl champ, 7-time Lombardi Trophy winner, and he's 44. And he looks I don't say as good as ever, but he looks like he's not slowing down. But I'll give him this. He's not throwing a party for 500 with 500 guests, 700 people. I don't know why this bothers me. I know how arrogant Barack Obama is. I know what a narcissist he is. I know he thinks rules don't apply to him. It's the same with his wife, Michelle. But isn't it amazing that they're not trying to just, I don't know, low key it a little bit during this spike in? I mean, Provincetown had 930 cases a couple of weeks ago. I realize most of them are fine. I mean, they're mostly young, healthy guys in Provincetown, and they're probably not taking all. They probably weren't taking all the precautions you should take. And I think it was the number of hospitalized and was 5 or 6 or something like that. So not a big deal. But what happens after Barack Obama's party, which is this weekend, which includes, as the latest numbers, 475 guests and 200 servants. 200. How do you find 200 people? Restaurants can't find waiters and waitresses and bartenders, particularly in states that keep giving the extra unemployment. How do you find 200 people to walk around with the tray of appetizers, the scallops wrapped in bacon? 200, and you got to get them to Martha's Vineyard? That's something. This must be the most unbelievable undertaking for whoever is organizing the party. I assume it's probably, I don't know, someone, Jeff Bezos or one of his friends is probably footing the bill. Steven Spielberg's going to be there. Pearl Jam's going to play. George Clooney's going to go. Oprah Winfrey. There's 475 guests, and my guess is about 200 private jets. Can they fit that many private jets on Martha's Vineyard? How big is the airport?
I doubt it. I don't know how that's going to work. But when you have $70 million, your net worth is, creeping on $100 million. You can get some people to serve you hors d'oeuvres for your birthday.
I guess everyone has their price. And again, he's got friends who will foot the bill. I'm sure Barack Obama never pays for anything. And they could, just money whip them, get all the maids and waitresses and waiters and bartenders you can get. But they also, I love the way they say we're taking everyone has to show proof of vaccination. Everyone has to show either that or two negative COVID tests in the last week. And they're hiring as we mentioned yesterday, a COVID coordinator to walk around the party and make sure everybody is following the rules. Now, does that apply to you or me or you're an 8-year-old kid who's going to school in September? Do they say, well, you know what, you don't have to wear a mask as long as you follow protocols? No, they just come down with these decrees, and they say you can't do that. You can't have X number of people. You can't have a wake or a funeral. Imagine being in a family where you couldn't have a wake or funeral for your mother, and looking at this arrogant guy saying, I'm going to have a party with 700 people, and because I'm special, because I am different than you. I'm more important. I can have 700 people at my house. And it's like when they build these. I mean, obviously he's a total hypocrite when it comes to climate change too. The guy, thinks the world's going to end in 10 years or whatever, buys a $12 million mansion on the water on an island. Obviously doesn't think the world's going to end. Obviously he doesn't believe climate change is a problem, or he wouldn't live there. He wouldn't buy there. He doesn't think COVID's a problem either. I'm pretty sure he is rolling his eyes at the thought that, you should low key this, Barack, because of COVID. He's like, me? Well, I don't do that. And by the way, who has a party for themselves anyway? I mean, shouldn't you at least say Michelle is doing it, or someone else is doing it from the island, or having a party? Guy's having a 60th birthday party for himself. Do you think he puts on the invitation, no gifts, please? Or do you think that he shows up?
I mean, he should. I mean, he certainly doesn't need it. But people don't get this. It's like when you're, the privilege. What's happening is when you've got these privileged people making laws, they are creating a privileged class too. Like they are. It's funny to me how overt they are. Whether it's mayors or Barack or all these people in power who say you can't do all these things, but then are caught the next day officiating a wedding, going to a birthday party in public, no masks. It's like this rule does not apply to people with status, but it's going to apply
As
to everybody else.
as we said yesterday, and I've said many times, the people telling you to live in fear of COVID are not living in fear of COVID. The people who tell you to worry about the virus are not worried about the virus. They don't care. They just want control. We went through the list of hypocrites and Lori Lightfoot attending, not just
Right.
allowing the 100,000 people to show up at Grant Park for Lollapalooza. She attended it maskless, and then the next day said, "Now we need a mask mandate." Or Lori Lightfoot, Mayor Bowser in D.C. hanging with Dave Chappelle hours after issuing a mask mandate, hanging with Dave Chappelle with no mask. Of course, they don't believe masks matter. They don't believe the things they're saying to you. They just want you to be under their control. I'm always disappointed. I've been saying it for a year and a half in the level of compliance. As I said many times, in Boston, in the peak, there were 90 something percent of people wearing masks outdoors by themselves, riding a bike. So many people are just sheep. And worse yet, they think by doing what they're told by these hypocrites like Lightfoot or Whitmer or Obama or Biden, Kamala Harris, doing what they're told, they seem to think is a way of virtue signaling in and of itself, saying, "Look, I'm willing to do what it takes. Just a little while longer. 2 more weeks, and we can stop the spread." And they want you to know that they are a sheep, and they want you to know they're willing to do whatever their leaders tell them. And it amazes me that that doesn't change for some people, even when they get a glimpse of these hypocrites and they realize they don't walk the walk, they don't do what they want you to do, and people do it anyway. It amazes me that everybody isn't fighting back at this point. And as we said yesterday, it's they're erupting all over Europe. We saw the video from Berlin and Nice and Paris, and they're protesting, and the cops are bashing them around, and they're banning protests, and it's really frightening what's happening in some European cities. That's going to happen here. I'm kind of disappointed it hasn't already happened. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he was saying that this is all going to be different this time, and I'm like, why? It will be different in some places. But I'm not sure it'll be different in, New York or Boston or LA, where there are so many sheep, so many people willing to do whatever daddy government tells them to do. I think there indeed are some people who are fed up, and they're saying, we're not doing that again. I did it last time. We shut down, bars and restaurants and gyms, and it didn't. It didn't work. Lockdowns didn't work. We're not doing that again.
Here's what I don't understand, Jerry. Maybe you can explain this to me. Like, it's one thing. Do your own research on COVID, on what you think is the best way to vaccine or not. Do your own research on that stuff, and whatever you decide is fine. But like, how can you not look at the way that our leaders are acting and just know that they're a bunch of liars? Like, regardless on where you are in the political spectrum, they are all liars. So it has to make you at least think twice about the information that they're giving you. Like, but they don't. Like, they just follow these regulations like little sheep. You're right.
Right, and I think for a while, and maybe it is again where if you are, refusing to wear a mask or complaining about them shutting down schools, you're kind of associated with Trump and a lot of people. That's the worst thing in the world. That's like being called a pedophile, being called a Trumpkin. So they said, "Oh no, I'm in on school closings, and I'm shut down my business, and I'm all in. Whatever you say, Fauci." And Fauci can lie and flip flop, and Fauci could be at the heart of the biggest scandal in the history of the world, and that's no exaggeration. He sent money to Wuhan. Wuhan created the virus. The virus killed millions. We know that. That's our head public health official paid for, subsidized the creation of this virus. It's the biggest scandal in all our lifetimes. And yet he's still on, CNN yucking it up with Jake Tapper every week, and you still have people saying, "Oh, Dr. Fauci said this," and I wonder. I mean, does he have to, show up on the set on like CNN with a severed head in his hand? What does he have to do? What must Fauci do to lose your faith, people? I mean, anybody who's paying attention knows he's a joke. He's been wrong on everything, and yet they'll still put him there, and they'll say, "Oh, Dr. Fauci, do you think we should bring back have mandatory mask mandates and vaccine mandates, and act like his opinion counts?" His opinion doesn't count. It hasn't counted for a long, long time.
He's been both sides of that issue, the masking issue. He's been on both sides. We played the clips. It's all over Twitter, but we play the clips of him talking to himself, saying, "Yes, you should mask. No, you shouldn't mask. Yes, you should mask." No, over and over and over. He's been on both sides. How can anybody trust this guy?
Yeah, we should get to the Biden visor.
Oh, Osterholm, yeah.
And I just want to finish with the Barack Obama thing. I realize the media will protect him and Michelle at all costs. Maybe the New York Post will cover it if there's an outbreak, if it is indeed a super spreader event, if it's like Provincetown, where most of the people, the 900 people who got the virus were vaccinated. They're fine, but they got the virus. They were vaccinated. So if everybody's vaccinated at Barack Obama's party and it spreads anyway, are we going to find out? Is he going to be held accountable for that? I know the answer to that. Of course not. He's Barack Obama. There'll be media assembled at the end of the driveway, and they'll be little girls at the Justin Bieber show. They'll be giddy, and oh, look who it is! It's Tom Hanks. It's George Clooney. When will we get to see our hero Barack Obama? They will not cover this with any level of skepticism. But if there's an outbreak, I hope we find out, and I hope the servants are okay. The hell with the stars. I don't care about Clooney or Oprah or what. I hope the 200 servants were probably being worked, driven like dogs to slave over whatever they have to do for this party. I hope they're okay. I hope they make it to the island and back off the island, and back to civilization. Okay, but that will be this weekend.
If it's one thing I know, Gerry Callahan, it's you're a man of the people.
Yes, I would. I did not have 200 servants at my birthday party, but I don't have 475 friends either. Can you imagine having to come up with a list? If I told you, Matt Carano, it's your birthday, big birthday, and you have to invite 400 people. Could you even? I couldn't come up with 100.
Nah.
That I would want there?
I would want there? No. Friends and family. No, but you have, people feel, I'm sure the Obamas feel obligated to invite certain people. So
yeah, but 500 people, I think that's another just example of the level of arrogance. I'm so important that these people that I'm gonna give them a treat. I'm gonna give them a gift. I'm gonna let them come to my house and eat some scallops and get drunk and give me a gift and sing me happy birthday. Right. I hope there's some cameras. I'm sure they'll be taking away the cell phones or whatever, banning the phones. But I hope there's some cameras and we get to see all these arrogant SOBs in action. That will be fun. I got a question for you. Here's my transition.
All right.
Will Matt Damon be there? Matt Damon, he's an Obama guy. I'm sure he's on the list, on the invite list, and maybe he wants to come home for a summer weekend and pop over to the Vineyard. Matt Damon, if you missed it, he's not going to cancel himself because he's Matt Damon. He's one of the beautiful people. He's a good, hardcore, left-wing progressive. But it could be the dumbest, most self-inflicted wound. Yeah. Self-inflicted damage we've seen during this crazy cancel culture era. We've seen lots of cancel culture stories. We've seen a million people get fired, lots of them fired for nothing, you name it. Mike Milbury, Jeremy Roenick, the Sacramento Kings play-by-play guy who said all lives matter and got fired. And, just every idiotic thing. Taking Aunt Jemima off, Uncle Ben off, Cleveland from Family Guy. We've gone over the list. Just insane examples of cancel culture. And we'll get to my man, Bill Maher, who essentially chronicles it every Friday night, and every Friday night he brings it every Friday night. He tells you or Saturday morning on YouTube for me because I don't have HBO, but every week Bill Maher does it again, explains how insane this cancel culture world has become. I'm not sure I can conjure up any sympathy for Matt Damon because it's just so stupid what he did. And he's not stupid. I mean, obviously he can write, he can act, and apparently his new movie Stillwater he does it. Critics say he does a great performance. But if you missed it, Matt Damon in an interview with is it London?
Sunday Times. The
Sunday Times in London,
Yep.
matter of factly says that he only recently, just a few months ago, stopped using the F slur for gay people. Now, we've talked about this. A friend of mine, a comedian, has a great riff on this because 40 years ago, the word was used a lot, and it really wasn't. I mean, it really wasn't considered the slur, the and what would you call it?
I don't know, but it didn't have the same like
didn't have the same impact. Didn't have it wasn't verboten. It was casually used on the playground. That's a long time ago. That has changed. Hell, I've talked about it with Alex Reamer. My friend Alex Reamer would say he used to use it all the time. It was just not a big deal in the old days. It has been for a while. I mean, if you're hanging out with your friends and someone used that word, you'd be like, whoa,
what is that? Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You come up with another word. The fact that Matt Damon said he did it months ago was the first bizarre admission. He did it in front of his kids, in front of one of his daughters, who then retreated to her bedroom and wrote what he called a treatise about it and why he shouldn't use that word. His own daughter is calling him out. And then he said, you're right, to his daughter. And he says he stopped using it. But it's one of those deals where you read it, and there's a bunch of stuff online. So the Daily Mail's got a long story about it that includes a lot of tweets from kind of incredulous fans or celebrities saying, "You what? You did this? Use this word months ago? Months ago," which means like he's talking about it in July, I think. So January, February, he was using the F slur in front of his kids.
Yeah, that's crazy. And the other thing that I don't understand is what goes through your head. So if you're woke and you don't say bad words, you have a certain amount of status. But if you're like a recovering unwoke person, you have more status. Like, is that what happened? Because I've done it in the past and now I'm sorry and changed my ways. Like this makes me look better. I
think in his mind, he you know what? He just had the timeline wrong. He's whatever he is, 50 something.
Yeah, 50.
He's 50. I think what he meant to say was, yeah, I used that slur 35 years ago when we were hanging out on the playground or playing ball. Me and Ben were hanging out in some playground in Cambridge. We used that word. The daughter who wrote the treatise, I believe, was 15, and his other daughters are 12 and 10. And he says he used it in front of his kids, and that his explanation was that he used it in the movie Stuck on You, a movie,
right.
By the way, co-starring me.
That's right.
And we hung out with him, and even though he's a big liberal, and I have respect for Matt Damon forever. He was very nice to my wife. She's still a big fan. He was nice to everybody. He was nice to the little people, because you do a scene that lasts like a minute and it takes 10 hours. And
yeah.
We were hanging out. We were hanging out in a bar. It was in Miami, like a piano bar. And we were just, hanging like drunks or whatever, sitting at the bar. And he was there. And there's so much downtime that we talked about whatever. Probably Boston sports. Probably talked about Tom Brady, in fact. But he was very nice to everyone. So I do not dislike Matt Damon. I just thought he was a little smarter than this. And I'm going to explain to you how he managed to step in it, Karana. And I've done so. Well, one thing is, again, he's thinking, I'm going to tell this reporter and in turn all my fans that I've changed my ways, that I'm better, that I've learned, I'm sorry, the liberal word is I've evolved. I've evolved. He was trying to tell a story that would show how much he's evolved. So he says, yeah, I've used that word in front of my kids, 15, 12, and 10. And one of my daughters called me out. And he thinks that's a positive reflection on him because he's changed and he doesn't use it anymore. And he learned and he had a real eye-opening moment with his own daughter. He just got the timeline wrong. Everyone is, guys his age all use that word once upon a time. Again, Alex Rima used the word. You did, I did when we were, 15 or 17. If he said that, you'd say, wow, that's 30 years ago. That's excuse me, an interesting admission, and good, he's changed. When you say you did it in 2021, people get step back and say, what? Nobody uses that word except Dave Chappelle. Nobody uses that word in 2021. The other thing is, and I've told you this many times, this is how liberals, good liberals who've been, around, they think they're kind of protected. I guarantee when there was some blowback on Twitter,
he was
like,
surprised.
Me? I'm Matt Damon. If this were,
Right.
I don't know, Kid Rock, as we use that same word, Kid Rock used that same word a couple of months ago, didn't, and everyone was coming down hard on Kid Rock. Kid Rock, of course, said, go screw, and didn't apologize because he's Kid Rock. But if this were, I don't know, some actor who's not as well established, doesn't have quite the liberal credentials, he would be canceled. He would lose jobs. If this were, I don't know, Morgan Wallen, the country singer,
or even like Rob Schneider's kind of right, and he's not in a lot of stuff anymore. If he did it, he'd be gone.
Yeah, I think Rob Schneider has come to grips with the fact that he's been canceled, like James Woods.
Yeah,
I know James Woods is older and he's put a lot of money away and he's fine, but he flat out says he's persona non grata because he's a hardcore right winger and Trump supporter, and that just doesn't work in Hollywood. I think Matt Damon, like I've said many times about whoever, Obama, Biden, Liz Warren, they're so used to being protected, adored by the media that they slip up on occasion, like Liz Warren just flat out, she'll just lie about whatever her family and they don't think it's a problem because they look at the media, whether it's one reporter or an assembled press conference, and they say, these are my allies. These are my comps team. They're gonna protect me. They're gonna help me. So he casually says, I use the F slur in front of my kids, and laughs it off and says, I don't do it anymore, so we're good. Immediately, and I think you've seen all those tweets from all kinds of people.
Yeah.
The media saying, "What the hell is wrong with you, Matt Damon?" And the question was, did Matt Damon just cancel himself? Will he lose a job? Will it be a boycott? Will it be demanding something? Obviously, he's got a movie out. He's promoting it. I don't think it's going to cancel the movie. But keep in mind, that, again, Morgan Wallen, the country singer, was drunk with his friend, used the N-word. I think he meant it with the A at the end, just kidding around, busting chops with his friend. His neighbor heard it. He got canceled by everybody. I mean, his people are still
lost his
record
deal.
company, endorsements, award shows, disinvited. We went through the list. There's a 15-year-old girl in Tennessee. The New York Times put her on page 1 because on social media she used racial slurs and she lost the chance to go to University of Tennessee, and become a cheerleader. The New York Times ruined a 15-year-old girl for using a slur. We can go on and on. The people who've used slurs, and some have been, canceled, ruined, destroyed forever, and others, like Hunter Biden, can use what he wants, obviously, and the media will protect him. I think the media will not come down, go hard at Matt Damon, but how stupid does he feel looking back?
And then the other thing too is like, I don't believe his come to Jesus moment either. That, he's been using this forever and ever, but he finally had the epiphany because his daughter wrote him a little, like a letter. I mean, come on, that wouldn't do it.
It's
It's insane.
amazing. You think
Yeah.
about it. Like again, Morgan Wallen is outside at like 2 a.m, stumbling drunk, uses a word with his friend, like his drunk friend, and you go, yeah, that's bad. But then they try to destroy him. The media wants to destroy him. They did their best. Matt Damon is with his children, and one of his children is offended and says, "Dad, you can't do that." It's like Archie Bunker with a Gloria saying, "You can't use that word, Art, Dad." This is a good, enlightened, progressive, Cambridge liberal, and he thinks he can use that F word, and somehow it was just casual guy
Yeah.
talk,
And
with
then
his daughters.
and then he walked it back too. And then he goes on record later on all over the media saying, "Oh, I was trying to contextualize how we used to use it in 2003 with my daughter, but he walked it back. That's not
No,
what he
but
said in
the
the
first
first
time,
thing.
that's
He's
not
like,
what
I ate it out at the dinner table. I was shooting my mouth out at the dinner table, and the F word just came out again." That's how he meant it the first time.
I mean, you can call me a troglodyte or caveman, whatever. I would never do something like that for my kids.
Oh, no, 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 no,
And
no.
I wouldn't do, the F word, which I, use all the time with you, but I'm not at the dinner table with my daughter, particularly when she was 15, dropping
No
F
way.
bombs
No way. No way.
or whatever kind of vernacular. You're careful. You don't want them emulating you. You don't want them learning those words from you. I mean, does he use the N word around the kids too?
That's the next question.
Matt, do you use the N word? I mean, do you use the C word around your daughters? What's the limit? Where's the line? It's bizarre. And to me, again, very nice guy in my experience. I thought he was smarter. I thought he was smarter. Sitting there telling a London newspaper that you did that is just bizarre. And he'll be fine, but it's always going to make me wonder, how smart he is. I don't think it's a reflection necessarily that he's dumb. It's that he's in a bubble. He's in a cocoon. He's a Hollywood superstar who hangs out with, what's the guy who hangs out with in Australia, Hemsworth or one of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flies with his family to hang out with Chris Hemsworth in surf in Australia, and lives. I don't even know where he lives. Miami, I believe now. He lived in Brooklyn, and then I think he went to Miami with his. He's got 3 daughters and a stepdaughter, and they all hang out together. And he tries to avoid, the paparazzi half his life. So he might be living in that bubble where you don't really know all about cancel culture and how easy it is to step in it. But he stepped in it. I will say that he stepped in it, and maybe the media is too busy chasing Ben Affleck and J-Lo around, because that's, all the paparazzi, that's their full-time gig now. Tried to catch J-Lo and Ben Affleck kissing. That's what they catch them making out. By the way, they caught Ben Affleck, I think, on the beach the other day. Must have been on the beach. It was on a yacht. It was on a yacht. Have you ever seen the Ben Affleck tattoo? It's rarely seen, but Google it. It's the worst tattoo in history. You think the guy, the Capitol Hill cop, Michael Fanone has a bad tattoo, or I think he has a bad tattoo. His neck is completely covered with ink. Ben Affleck's back tattoo is so bizarre and so.
The dragon.
I guess it's a dragon. Is
I
that what
think
it?
so.
It's
Yeah.
all colorful. It goes all the way from the top to the bottom.
Gigantic. It's
And
huge.
it's like, I know he was a big drinker, but could you really get that drunk to have them put that thing on your back? I mean, he must have to lie there for weeks to get this thing done, and it's so hideous, and makes him look like you see someone like that, you say that had to be a drug haze or something, that you just weren't thinking clearly, that you went in and said, put that dragon with all these different colors all over my back. I'd rather use the F slur in front of my kids than show that. So my children see that, they'd be like, what the hell is wrong with you, Dad? And Affleck's got a bunch of kids. Does he show them that and say, you like my tattoo? It's pretty cool, huh? But
that would take him weeks to do too. That's many sessions to get all that done. You can't do that obviously in one fell swoop. That's I would guess my guess is like that's 40 hours worth of work.
If you eliminate neck tats, because I've already established people with neck tats, there's something wrong with them.
I don't
Just
co-sign that. I don't
just
co-sign.
regular tats. Have
All
you
right.
ever seen a worse one? Have you ever seen a worse tattoo than Ben Affleck's?
Yes. So who's the guy from what was that show? Jackass on TV. Oh, who's the guy? Can't remember, but he took a picture of
Johnny
himself.
Knoxville?
Wasn't Knoxville, it was one of the other guys who took a picture of himself like this and had this picture of himself tattooed on his back. It's crazy.
I have a friend, good friend, one of my best friends' his daughter. She takes after him. It's kind of nutty. And she was talking about getting a tattoo. And he said, as long as you don't get a parrot smoking a cigar on your back or on your thigh. He just was being, facetious, making a wisecrack. A couple of weeks later, she goes back to school. A couple of weeks later, she comes home and says, want to see my new tattoo? It's a parrot smoking a cigar. She literally got the tattoo because her dad made a joke about it. And that's 100% real.
So this one's the Steve O. Steve O is the guy, and it's his tattoo. I'll drop it in the comments here for people to see.
I have another quick one. It's a friend's brother. His mother died, and he's like, in his 50s, and apparently he's very close to his mother, and he's 50-year-old, whatever, white guy like me, and he had his mother's face tattooed right on his chest, his chest, like his mother's, like it's very well done, but right here on one of his pecs, he has his mother's face, and he's literally creepy. 55 years old. I just saw a picture of it and was like, what? I mean,
that's creepy.
I love my mother too, but I'm not having mom, maybe have a little mom tattoo with a little heart, like a mom.
My wife has that actually. She has mom in script with a little heart on her because her mom passed away a few years ago, so she put that right on her
it's just a little, it's not that big, right? Yeah, it's not. I mean, this guy literally has her.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
That's weird. That's like someone going through a tough time, and that's when I think the tattoo artist should say, "Listen, why don't you go home, think this through? Maybe we'll come up with something smaller," rather than saying, "Oh, really? You want a face tattoo of a big penis or something? Let's go, sit down and do it." Yeah, I think they need to consider that some of these people going in for really for self-mutilation, those are the kind of spur in the moment. There's no way Ben Affleck looks at that now and thinks it was a good decision. There is no way. He does not regret that tattoo.
Well, and the other thing is when you get it in the first place, if you're going to put it on your back, you're never going to see it anyway. So why put it there? You're like, this is what I want to project to the world. This is what I want people to see of me when I'm on the beach. They want to know this about me. Makes no sense. We got Tony V in the comment here saying, get a painting, people, not a tattoo. I 100% agree. You love your mom, get a painting of your mom. Put that in your house.
Is that Tony V? Is that the Tony V? The Tony V, the comedian? My friend. He's great comedian. He knows.
Well, he'll have to
he knows he knows the other comedian who does that whole riff on the F slur and how it used to be just universally used. Everybody was an F in the old days. Now only Matt Damon uses that slur, which is amazing. But I don't think his movie will be canceled. I hope it's not. It looks good. I'd like to see it. It upset Amanda Knox, which is good. That's a good endorsement. Anything that upsets Amanda Knox, that arrogant little brat. We'll have to get into the whole Amanda Knox story, but she doesn't. She's no hero. Put it that way. She's no hero. Anyway, I mentioned Bill Maher. We got to get to Bill Maher. This was last weekend's brilliant monologue. It is amazing how the world has turned. The world has changed. I hated Bill Maher. I don't know, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Back when I had HBO, I couldn't stand him. I mean, he's still a hardcore liberal. And the old expression that I forget who coined it, said that I didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left me. Like, he's still a liberal. He's still a classical liberal. Classical liberals should be against, censorship. They should be against cancel culture. The whole climate where everybody's on edge, wondering if they tweeted something offensive 8 years ago, and what happens if that gets out there, and what will they do, and will I lose my job? And I mean, obviously, good liberals don't ever get canceled. It only works one way, which is why it's so commendable that Bill Maher attacks cancel culture every week, because the people being canceled aren't necessarily, Alex Jones or Turtle Boy. They're whatever mainstream some aren't even political at all. They're just become targets of the woke mob. We have certainly lived through this, as have many, many others. We went through a short list, but I didn't even know the ones that Bill Maher mentioned last weekend, all the people behind the scenes at the Olympics, the people who are like directing the opening ceremonies. They went through their social media
Yeah.
and found, offensive things from years ago and fired them. It's got to the point where you don't even hear about some of these crazy cancel culture stories. And I guess, it's Bill Maher's job to bring it up. But can we listen to a little bit of Bill Maher last Friday night talking about the latest examples of cancel culture?
Sure.
Director of the opening ceremony was fired hours before the event because they found out there was a Holocaust joke in a comedy routine he did decades ago. Well, context is everything. Obviously, it didn't strike people as beyond the pale at the time. Young people have to stop flattering themselves that they're Nostradamus and would have foreseen, had they been around then, everything that's unacceptable now. And for further context, Mel Brooks wrote one of the most successful musicals of all time around the song Springtime for Hitler. Why do we allow the people who just want to bitch to always win? Days before that firing, the opening ceremony's musical director was also forced out because someone dug up an interview with him from 1994 where he admitted to bullying classmates as a child. As a child. Remember when your teacher used to try and scare you by saying, this is going to go on your permanent record? Yeah. No longer an empty threat now.
It's so true. We don't even know about that. They went back and they found out that he bullied someone as a child and fired him.
That's crazy. You were mean to someone. You're out.
That goes under the radar. It's incredible. And I all the time, people like me, probably you, say, thank God we didn't have social media when we were 15, like the cheerleader in Tennessee or the New York Times would try to ruin us. There are people now who did have social media and they're, in their 30, 35, and they're digging him up and they're saying he used a slur. Let's get him. And I mean, there are plenty of people speaking up about it, but not liberals, as we've mentioned many times, Glenn Greenwald tweets about it every day, writes about it every day, talks about it on Fox News many times, that the people cheering the loudest for the crackdown on speech, the people cheering the loudest for the big tech tyrants as they cancel people, as they try to eliminate their voices, the people cheering the loudest are liberals, reporters, media people who are saying good. And, unless it's them or one of their own, they don't mind this chilling wave of cancellations and censorship. That the director of the opening ceremonies once made a mention of what did he say, Hitler, like on social media, like years ago, and you have to find a new director. Just bizarre and disturbing. And I guess it's not going to change. I guess, when people voted for it, people voted for Biden, knowing that Biden was in cahoots with big tech, knowing that this current regime, Biden and Harris and all their supporters, are cheerleaders for big tech and big tech censorship. So I guess
this will change
soon.
This will change eventually. I mean, we're going through kind of the dark ages of community. We've never before, until 3 decades ago or so, we haven't really been able to communicate with people all over the world like as instantly because of the internet, right? And everybody's coming from a different place. Like we can't relate with people potentially from China who have, or other parts of the world who had a different upbringing than us. So now we're getting all the dark stuff that's coming out. And cancellations can happen because you're right. It's these big tech companies, but this is going to change over time. We're going to learn how to deal with each other in a more civil way because eventually, if not, everybody's going to get canceled. Well, and so if we're all canceled, then we need to figure out.
No, that's not true, Carano. That's not true. You're generalizing here. Liberals, for the most part, don't get canceled. Hunter Biden can use the N-word as a 51-year-old man. And the New York Times won't mention it. The Washington Post won't mention it. But a 15-year-old girl in Tennessee can do it on social media, and they will put it on page 1.
The difference is the corporate media. The difference is the corporate media, and that's going to go away too. If you look at how it's funny, we just talked about Wayne's World on a show a couple days ago, and it was so prescient. They were doing like a cable access TV show. That's what Wayne's World was all about, and that's what we're all doing now. We are making we're making our own content outside of the big corporate media. That is going to become more and more powerful, and they will have less power. You're going to see a lot less of the woke shit.
Well, I hope, because I'm not sure how much worse it can get. You know, when again they're going after 15-year-old girls in Tennessee, and like
it's bad.
And they're giving a complete pass to the crackhead son of the president just because their job is to protect the president, protect the regime, and they're not even not even subtle about it. They don't care that we know it. They'll destroy you if you're not woke, if you're not useful. They'll destroy you, and whatever, Morgan Wallen or whoever, they'll go after him, and they will protect Hunter Biden. But
I think you're right, though. But it has to get bad for us to see it and know that we don't want it. And we're at that point. It's really ugly.
Yeah, I mean, there's a new show. I think it's a series on Fox Nation, which I haven't seen, by Dan Bongino. It's all about cancel culture, and they show him talking to different people who've been canceled. Gilbert Gottfried, talking about he was canceled. People like that, and the list is long. I'm telling you, I don't know how he even narrows it down to a handful of people, because there are so many people who've been destroyed in this climate. And thank God for guys like Bill Maher. There aren't many of them who know there's nothing liberal about destroying your dissenting voices by saying, rather than debate you, I want to eliminate you. That's the new approach from the, I'll use your term, the corporate media. The new approach from CNN and New York Times is not to debate you, not to beat you in the arena of ideas. It's to destroy you and shut you up forever. That's the goal, and it's disgusting. And thank God for people like Bill Maher who call it out. All right, we have to get to, since I mentioned disgusting, do you want to do Deshaun Watson, the Deshaun Watson story?
Sure. Before we do, you want to do Shea?
Yes, let's do Shea, and then we're going to do Deshaun Watson. And I'm just going to remind you that Deshaun Watson right now, as we speak, is on a field in Houston, Texas, taking snaps, throwing passes, calling plays. And when we tell you about the latest charge against Deshaun Watson, you're going to wonder, like I do, what's it going to take for him to get sidelined? What's it going to take for him to get suspended by the league? But let me tell you about Shea first of all, and then we'll tell you about Deshaun Watson. All right, before we started recording, we played some of the sound from one of Deshaun Watson's alleged victims. I ruined it because I was laughing, and I guess probably shouldn't be laughing. It's more disturbing and disgusting than it is funny, but it is amazing what Deshaun Watson has been accused of. He's a quarterback. He's a star. He's one of the faces of the league, and is certainly the face of his franchise. He's now got 22 women accusing him of sexual misconduct, including 10 who want to press criminal charges, at least 2 who want to pursue criminal charges and not civil charges. They're not looking for money. They're looking for justice. It seems to me there's more than enough there for the league, for the commissioner to suspend him. We've mentioned this a few times, that Ben Roethlisberger gets suspended for accusations only. Ezekiel Elliott gets suspended, no due process. Just hell, Tom Brady gets suspended for taking a little air out of a football. Deshaun Watson has allegedly abused 22 masseuses, and you wonder, you don't always get the details in their accusations. You just say what he did was improper, what he did was over the line, and you wonder, and you kind of put 2 and 2 together. Well, now we have specific charges against Deshaun Watson from an actual masseuse who is, I assume, one of the 22. Do you have her name? What's the masseuse?
Yeah, it's Nia Reese Lewis Smith.
Nia Reese Lewis Smith went on a podcast, or went on an Instagram show, where the interviewer asked her exactly what did Deshaun Watson want you to do, and she tells him, and it is disgusting.
It always escalated every appointment. The only thing that really bothered me in the first appointment is he kept asking me to go inside of his butt. And I was just so confused. Normally on my male clients, well, any of my clients, I'll stop at the lower thigh. And, just some people just don't like their buttocks touched. And so I'll stop at the lower thigh, and he kept asking me to go inside.
Like,
and so I would
like the crack or the hole?
I originally thought it was the crack.
Okay.
And so kind of go around that area, and he still wasn't satisfied. And he was very adamant, and he would say, don't be afraid to go inside. And in my mind, I'm like, there's nothing further. There's nowhere I can go unless it's inside of his anus.
All right, Carano, you always seem to have some interest in my career, in my earlier.
I do, yeah.
I've probably done, I don't know how many thousands of interviews. I've never asked that question, the crack or the hole. Never asked anybody the crack. I had Tom Brady on every week for 19 years and interviewed lots of people, and never had the occasion to say the crack or the hole.
Well, I don't foresee that coming up very often in your line of work. I mean,
the only thing Deshaun Watson has going for him is it's so disturbing that you're not going to hear it on, ESPN. You're probably not going to hear it on sports radio in Houston. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the Outkick guys will play it, or Bobby Burek will write it, but there's not many people who are going to go there. And so most people probably won't know exactly what he did with all these 22 masseuses. But if there's a pattern, if the next masseuse says, yeah, he did that with me too. And by the way, she also says he asked her if she wants to put his penis in her mouth. I always ask my masseuses that too, because they're just dying to do that. They're just dying to go down on you, Deshaun, you friggin' freak. Anyway, right now he's not, on the massage table, fortunately. He's on the field practicing with the Houston Texans. And one of the dumbest storylines in this offseason, this preseason, and I just Googled it, and there's a bunch of stories about potential trades for Deshaun Watson. Here's the lead of the Yahoo story. And Charles Robinson is a NFL writer for Yahoo. And it says, as Charles Robinson traverses the country visiting training camps, there's been a question every general manager has been asking him, what's going on with Deshaun Watson? And they want to know when or where he'll be traded. How could he be traded? I mean, you hear that sound?
You can't take that. Yeah, you can't take a chance on him. I mean, he's going to get. So I don't think he did anything illegal by asking that question to the massage therapist. But there's nothing there. But I think the charges that he's facing are actually worse than that. It's him inappropriately touching and making physical
right. He's one other. Sue says he was whacking his wiener against her hand. Another
right. I mean, that's sexual harassment, potentially assault. So yes, you got that type of stuff is the problem. I mean, but having it's borderline saying, the other comments that he was making about wanting oral from his massage therapist. Do you want this? Right. That's borderline, I think, misconduct. It's still kind of a question. It's inappropriate because you're in a professional's office. You shouldn't be doing that. But I don't know illegal. So I don't know what this changes anything. But if there's any touching, contact, harassment, then he can't. How can he play in the NFL?
You wouldn't take it for nothing. Because this story is just now, it's going to continue to unfold. I mean, this is one of 22. There's going to be other women telling their stories, and they're going to be equally disturbing. And you're going to wonder, will he be arrested? If he's not arrested, if he reaches a settlement, it's going to be tens of millions of dollars. There's 22 of them. If he settles, it's going to be, I don't know, $40-50 million. And I guess he has it, but there are 10 women who want to pursue criminal charges. And you're right. There'll be some gray area in the law, and you'll say, is this illegal? Saying to, touch my, go in my hole or whatever she said.
Yes. Yeah, but the NFL is suspended for less than that. You're right.
God,
For taking air out of a football is not the same thing as 22 people accusing you of harassment and assault. Like that, the NFL's done more damage for less than that. So I don't know
and,
what they're doing. What are they waiting for?
and if he were a defensive end, a pass rusher, if he were Frank Clark, and the Chiefs would look the other way. But you can't have your franchise player, the guy, the face, the guy that's on all the billboards and on the season tickets, the guy, you're paying whatever, 30, 40 million dollars to a year. That guy can't be a freak. Okay. You can have maybe have a wide receiver or again, a pass rusher or a DB. Maybe they could be a freak, but you can't have your QB be a freak. And Deshaun Watson is a freak. And we'll just wait for the next masseuse because these stories are just going to keep coming. All right, a couple more things I want to get to. Carano. Congratulations, Simone Biles. We were going to start with this, but what the hell? She won a bronze, her 7th Olympic medal, tying her for the most ever by a gymnast. And good luck to Laurel Hubbard. You mentioned yesterday, right, during the show that she failed. She flopped. She's the first openly transgender athlete. Can I put the quotation fingers around athlete?
I'm seeing you do it, so yes.
She's a fat, slovenly person, super heavyweight power lifter. She failed to medal, which is good for the transgender activists out there, because if she won, we'd be able to say, see, men, people are born with strength, and it doesn't matter if you change your gender, you're still really stronger than girls, than women. But she lost. And I just want to wish her luck in her career as a Victoria's Secret model. She'll be with Megan Rapinoe. She'll be the face of Victoria's Secrets. That should work out well.
What percentage chance did she fail on purpose to advance the cause?
Oh, please. No one.
You don't think so? Not even at all?
No. She's already, in New Zealand, it's a big deal. She holds records. She set records as a man, 8 years ago, and then became a woman and set records as a woman. So I think she was pretty well established as a dominant power lifter in her home country. She just couldn't do it on the world stage, and now she can move on. She said she's glad her days as an athlete are over, and she's moving on. But again, you're going to look at Laurel Hubbard and tell me that's an athlete? I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. And this story, another disturbing story, which I've been reading about, and I don't quite get it. A fourth Capitol police officer killed himself. I think this was over the weekend. There's now 4 members of the Capitol Hill police force since January 6th, and God wouldn't, CNN love to blame all this on Trump, has killed himself. And I know it's a big police force. I know it's big budget, bigger than Atlanta, bigger than Detroit, big budget. But 4 guys in 6 and 7 months have killed themselves. The latest, Kyle DeFreitig was only 26. He was there during the riots on January 6th, worked that day and that night, and apparently had some struggles in his personal life, and he took his own life. I guess, some people will blame whatever the rioters, the insurrectionists, but it is, I guess, just a sad trend. But
so I see the Capitol
place to work right now.
Well, the Capitol Police Force is 2,300 people, but if certainly there weren't that many there that night. I wonder, how many people were there that night. And 4 is a huge number in 2,300. But
it is. My high school had 2,200. That would be like high school.
Yeah,
4
huge.
people in 6 months killing themselves.
Crazy.
They're not. It's one thing if they were like heroin addicts or something, or OD. And they're just cops. You look at the picture of the guy, and he just looks like a normal guy, a normal cop. Obviously, had some serious demons. What are they saying? They're not saying how he did it, but 4 other guys. This guy, Gunther Hashida, took his own life on July 29th, and this guy, Kyle DeFreitig, took him. So Kyle DeFreitig was the 3rd. He killed himself on July 10th. On July 29th, Gunther Hashida, 43, father of 3, shot himself. It's just.
I see Jeffrey Smith. Was that
Yep.
5 days ago? Jeffrey Smith, a police officer who confronted a mob in the Capitol, shot himself, is what it says.
No, he shot himself on January 15th. Jeffrey
Oh,
Smith.
was that?
So
I'm sorry. I'm
I
looking
think
at
it
the
was
wrong.
the first, and then since then there's been 3 more.
Yeah.
And speaking of shootings, I saw this stat on this morning on the news, and I can't believe it. You know how there's a lot of shootings in Chicago? We talk about it all the time.
Sure.
There's been over 1,000 people shot in Chicago in the last year. 1,000. You know how many convictions there have been for those shootings?
How many?
2. In July, there were 39 mass shootings in July. That's more than 2 or something people shot at once. 39 mass shootings, 1 conviction. One. They're just not, no one's snitching and no one's stepping up, and the cops are, under siege, and the mayor's more concerned with making sure she has a good time at Lollapalooza. Amazing. Imagine knowing your loved one, your kid, your whatever gets shot, knowing that they essentially have 0 chance of catching and convicting the killer. That is frightening what's going on in Chicago. Won't be any marching by BLM, or won't be any Al Sharpton flying in, or Ayanna Pressley won't be railing against all the violence. They're too busy making sure nobody has to pay rent. Nobody should ever have to pay rent again. Let's make sure this eviction moratorium lasts forever, and no one can ever. I mean, did you see Corey Bush, that lunatic from? He's kind of like the 5th member of the squad, lying, sleeping outside the I don't know where it was, the Capitol or was it the Supreme Court, like has a bed set up, and she has a box of Oreos next to her, and she's not going to go anywhere until we eliminate rent forever. It's just such an ingenious idea. Let's never have rent. All they do is work for the non-working class. I mean, if you are a hardworking landlord, they don't care about you. Then you took a chance and you bought a 2-3 family home and you're renting it out, and the renter's not paying rent. They are on the side of the deadbeat, and they're against you. I don't know anybody, any small businessman or woman could ever support these lunatics. But anyway, that'll do it today. Big day at the Olympics. Gwen Barry, the hammer thrower who put the T-shirt over her head because she didn't want to sing the anthem. She goes. Hopefully she loses. I hope that the top seed from the U.S., hope she wins. She seems like a very likable person and a very patriotic person.
Yes.
And I think the loathsome U.S. women's soccer team goes when tomorrow. I don't even know when.
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday for the bronze, and I don't even know who they're playing, but I'll be rooting for the other team. But anyway, that should do it. Anything else, Carano?
I think that's it. We had plenty to talk about today. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow there, Mr. Callahan.
And happy birthday to Tom. Maybe today, on Tom Brady's birthday, the media will sing happy birthday, and then someone will say, Tom, did you get the shot? And if Tom says, no, I'm not going to do that, then it all erupts, and we have the biggest story of the summer in the NFL. But for some reason, that hasn't happened yet. I don't even understand. He's been accessible to the media, and they've the players have been forced to talk to the media. Why aren't they asking Brady?
I mean,
Why?
maybe the NFL's saying, hey, if you cover this beat, you can't talk, you can't ask these questions. Maybe they're getting a directive.
Nah, that's
You don't think so?
No, that doesn't work that way.
Well, it's really odd that nobody has asked him that question or gotten him on record to say something, to say, oh, I'm not talking, I'm not talking about it. Not even a yes or a no. Just have him answer. It's ridiculous. Your buddy, I'm putting him on notice right now. Your buddy in,
I'm gonna.
That guy is not doing his job. He is not doing his job right now.
I will text him right now and say, "What the hell are you guys doing? When are you gonna?"
Is he a good reporter or is he a shitty reporter? That's
TV
what I want
reporter, and his bio has like awards that he's won and stuff like that.
Awards. Ask the damn question.
It's not hard. You know what? It's not like asking. It's not like asking the hole of the crack. That's a tough question.
No, it's not.
Did you get the
hey,
shot?
did you get the vaccine? It's very simple.
Vaccine.
Ask the question.
And Brady will probably duck it and say it's personal, whatever. We've gone through that, but you're not asking him the butt of the crack of the hole or whatever she asked. You're asking the biggest question here, because it's a football question too, as we see in Minnesota. If you're not vaccinated, you get to sit out for a while. Yeah, you need to know this. This is a very relevant, very important question. Get on it, guys down in Tampa. Get on it. We will follow that, and hopefully we will get an answer. But we will leave it there for today. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, produced by executive producer Matt Carano. All right, is that good?
That's fine. Yeah.
This is how about this? This is the Callahan Podcast featuring Matt Carano. You like that?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
sure.
Christ. Oh, I've created a monster. We will talk to you again tomorrow.